Well, good morning. It's December, and we just thank God for this Christmas season. And it just really is. Somehow, God has kept it, and as a celebration all over the world. And we thank God for it. And, there some of the wonderful stories in the Gospels, Matthew and Luke especially. And there was a story with Richard and Wurmbrand and Sabina Wurmbrand, where he was a pastor in communist Romania. It was very atheist at the time. A lot of heavy persecution. They were imprisoning pastors, Christians, and when they would interrogate them as to where are the other leaders, where are the Christian meetings being held. So Richard Wurmbrand used to always just find out. He knew which believers had died and which had left the country, and he would give those names because they couldn't get them. And Sabina Wurmbrand, his wife, she was in jail for a number of years and in a concentration camp. He 14 years, and she got so angry with some of the believers and some of the pastors even, who, when asked by the communists, do you know where the Christian meetings are, they would say yes. Or if they were asked, do you know if such and such is a believer, they would say yes, he is. And as a result, they would be jailed and imprisoned, and sometimes even for decades in jail. And she got so angry that because they wanted to keep their righteousness, they didn't care that they would put them in jeopardy. And she let them do it. They had them jailed in concentration camps, and they wanted to make sure that, no, I have to tell the truth, I have to do it right, and like that. And she was furious with them because of it. There's a story in the genealogy, and we read of the story of Jesus, and it mentions in Matthew 4 women, Bathsheba, Rahab, Boaz, and Tamar. Tamar is, and all of these women were the lineage of Jesus Christ, and we see with Tamar that she was married to Judah's son, his oldest son. His name was and not a great name, because if you're in the room and someone goes, yeah, no, I'm not talking to you. No, yeah, but his name is but he was wicked before the Lord, and because he was wicked, the Lord slew him. He died, and the law in the Jewish was that if your husband died and you had not a child, the brother of the deceased would be with his former wife, and she would conceive by him, so she could carry on her lineage. So she was with the brother, and he would not give a child to her, and deliberately he wouldn't do it. And this kind of, as a result, again, the Lord found this man wicked and also was killed. And so now the third son, Judah had 3 sons, was to be given to Tamar. So Judah thought, I don't like this. There's something wrong. He didn't trust Tamar. He didn't want this again as third son. But it was not Tamar's fault. It was these men who were living wrong. So he says, well, he's young, the son, so just wait. So the years went by. She waited, and she realized he's older now, and Judah's not giving the son to me. So what Tamar did, Judah was not also living right. He was going to the place where there were prostitutes, and he was being with prostitutes. So she knew this. So she dressed up as a prostitute, went to that place where Judah was, disguised herself. He came and asked her, and she said, can I be with you? And she says, what will you pay me? He says, I'll give you a goat. But he says, I don't have it now. And she says, well, give me some token. So he gives, I think it's a ring and a staff, and she gives that to him. He gives that to her, and he goes into her, and she conceives. And so that's it. He goes back, and she goes back, and some months later, it's found out that she's conceived, and he drags her out to be killed. And he says, she has lived immorally, she has done wickedness, she is to be stoned or burned. And so they're bringing her, and she says to the men, take this staff and ring and give it to Judah, and tell him that the man who owned these is the father of the child. And he sees and realizes they're mine, and realizes what happened. And he says, she was more righteous than me. She was more righteous than me, because he wouldn't give her his third son. and he wouldn't do that. And she was going to continue the lineage of his first son, and he was not going to let her do it. He was going to leave her alone, and he was not going to allow her to do it. So he forced her, to go and to dress as a prostitute, to disguise herself, to deceive Judah, to conceive in a way that she really didn't want to do, and but she did it, and she did it because of she left him with he left her with no choice but to do that. And her name is in the lineage of Jesus Christ, and that's therefore this is the Lion of the tribe of Judah, right in the book of Revelation at the second coming of Jesus Christ, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Judah, who's lived, he has this thing in his past, and then adds the name Tamar also. But the one here who has the sin, of course, the greatest sin is Judah, and who forced Tamar into this way. But he says she was more righteous than I. And these things are in the genealogy of Jesus Christ. And life is not so clean. We'd like it all to be clean and polished and nice and orderly, but it's not. And it wasn't with Tamar. And if you read the story of Rahab, she also had been a prostitute. And then she got saved. She became a believer. And she married into the lineage also of the Jesus Christ. And Bathsheba, which you probably know the story of. So life is not so clean always. But God, is the Redeemer, and has brought people in from all sorts of backgrounds and all sorts of direction into His family and into His household. Amen.